Good evening, everybody. Hope you can hear me okay. I've just muted the sound system here so it doesn't reflect back into the microphone up here. And I know it said both of them are ready, but no, Shirley's not here tonight. Unfortunately, Shirley was babysitting today, went out to our grandparents' place, came back with a very, very husky voice. So she's sitting in an armchair in front of the heater with her iPad or iPhone in front of her, and she is actually on Facebook monitoring what I'm saying, and so no doubt she'll be able to criticize me when I get back in and say, well, you didn't say this and you didn't say that. So now, normally in a studio, as I said before, we've normally got about a dozen people at least handling things. You've got the lighting technician, the sound engineer, the camera guys, probably 3 on camera, and somebody switching between cameras, and somebody giving orders. But tonight I'm doing the lot. So if I get sidetracked on some things, we're actually running Facebook and on YouTube tonight for the very, very first time. There was a little bit of a glitch because I had the wrong streaming key for YouTube, but I've managed to get that sorted, and that's why we're about 2 or 3 minutes late getting started. So, as I said earlier on, we have got some extreme windy conditions tonight, and we've got a tin roof on my studio, and if it rains, then it makes a lot of noise, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about that. So what I did earlier on this afternoon, just in case I was going to get drowned out, I actually cheated a bit, and I recorded what I was going to say on video. It's virtually, I'm here in the same studio, wearing the same things I did it this afternoon, about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and it worked out well. And I thought, well, if the worst comes to the worst, I can use that. But in fact, it worked out so well, I've got it here, and so I will run that in a few seconds. There's a couple of things I missed out on and I forgot, and that was that I didn't say anything about the name Oscar and how that came about. And so fortunately, in gathering the material for tonight, I found, in fact I said this on the video, so I'm going to repeat myself there, but I found the material that we'd used 12 months ago, almost to the day. We did this same subject matter. We presented it a little bit differently, though. The same subject matter was done back on the 11th of August 2020. Now, I didn't know that when I said that we were going to do the talk about the history of the Oscar on our last broadcast. I've had a number of people say, we sell a lot of Oscars in 12 months, and so a lot of new people have come on board since then, and a lot of people have said, well, how did you come up with the concept? Why is it manufactured in America? And how did you come up with the name? What is Oscar? O-S-K-A. And so because Shirley's not here, Shirley was going to talk to you about that, and I always get it wrong. So I found the original video where Shirley is talking about the way in which the name Oscar came about. So I'm going to run that for you as well. So now I know that a lot of people are interested in watching The Voice tonight. That's in Perth in Western Australia. And I know we've got a number of people watching us from New South Wales and from the eastern states, and you are already just gone past 9 o'clock, which in many cases is other people's bedtime. Okay, I don't go to bed until about 11 o'clock, probably read for another half an hour, so midnight is about our time. But I know, so I'm not going to waffle on, I'm going to get straight into it. And this only runs for about 15 minutes, so it's going to be an early night. So those of us who are interested in watching The Voice, yep, I promise you will be able to get back before 7:30. So let's run the video, and it goes straight into the history of Oscar Pulse. Hi everyone. For those who've just joined us, it's raining, it's very windy outside, and we're hearing the effects of that on our tin roof. I'm sure our microphone is picking that up, so I do apologise, but unfortunately there isn't a great deal I can do about that. So our topic is the history of Oscar Pulse. What is it? Who invented it? Why is it manufactured in the USA? It's rather amazing that until this morning I had no idea that it's almost 12 months to the day that we did a similar live stream on this very same subject. I was looking for some images to show, and I found them in a file that was dated Tuesday the 11th of August 2020, which was actually our 26th live broadcast. Okay, so what is the Oscar Pulse? Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on that at the moment because most of you here already have an Oscar. But for those who haven't, briefly, the Oscar Pulse uses a specifically configured series of pulsed electromagnetic fields that modulate cell membrane. Now, its primary purpose is to speed cellular regeneration. It uses a process as close to the body's natural healing as possible. It's totally different to the TENS device that uses pads that attach to the skin and connected to a controller that can adjust the flow of electricity to these pads. In contrast, the Oscar Pulse can be worn over clothing. No wires, no cables, it's completely portable, and obviously it can be used while at work or play. Now, the TENS machine is designed to simply block pain. The Oscar Pulse is designed to get to the cause of your pain, to speed the healing process. So who invented the Oscar Pulse? Well, it was me. And how and why did I invent the Oscar Pulse? The amazing thing is, it really happened through a series of accidents. Now I guess everyone can look back through their lives and reflect on things that we did or decisions that we made that changed the course of our lives. In my case, the first one was a spilt cup of tea that led us to immigrate to Australia in 1957. A car accident that helped me marry the right person, and ultimately falling off roof that led to the development of the Oscar Pulse. Well, I didn't actually fall off the roof, I fell through the roof, landing very heavily on a concrete slab, broke my wrist and several ribs. Now, here is the most important bit. My wrist was being held in place after surgery by pins and wires and a half plaster cast. And my surgeon told me it was really important to exercise. Now, obviously, at this point of time, that was impossible. However, he actually went on to explain it was a chemical action produced by the compression and decompression of what is known as the proteoglycan extracellular matrix. Now, I have to admit that I had forgotten most of the technical technology that or the terminology that he used at that time. And it was years later, when having been involved in this industry for a few years, I actually recalled his conversation, and I decided to further my studies in biomedical science to find out what this proteoglycan cellular matrix was all about. Now, our granddaughter Jade has a degree in biomedical science, and she passed on a whole heap of course material, university lectures, videos, course material, and that enabled me to find out how I could replicate the electrical potentials that are naturally generated through physical exercise. So for the previous 5 years, we had been marketing a product called the eCell, and many of you here will remember the eCell or even have one now and using it. As TGA requirements changed, the eCell unfortunately could no longer be classified as a medical device, and so they ceased manufacture. Now, a business contact in the USA asked the question, what are you doing now? What are you doing about it? Have you got nothing? And I said, well, yes, I'm working on a project at the moment. He virtually said, well, get yourself into gear, get a prototype ready, bring it over to us. We've got 320 million people here in the USA. Why don't you bring the prototype over here and see what we can arrange? Now, we actually did that. And to cut a long story short, investors were found, a manufacturer appointed, and a company, Oscar Wellness Inc., was founded. Now, it took only a few months to obtain FDA registration as a medical device in the USA. It took 5 years to obtain certification in Europe, and finally, on June, I think it was June the 6th this year, we managed to get TGA registration. That's registration on the ARTG listing here in Australia as a medical device Class 2A. Whew, finally did it. So one thing I haven't mentioned though, historically, it was a guy called Luigi Galvani, an Italian physician, physicist, biologist and philosopher. He actually discovered animal electricity. He's recognised as the pioneer of bioelectromagnetics. In 1780, he and his wife Lucia discovered that the muscles of a dead frog's leg twitched when it was struck by an electrical current or electrical spark. Now, my interest in human physiology was first stimulated when my science teacher tried to replicate that experiment. We all had a frog's leg in the classroom, and it was dissected, and we had a 1.5 volt battery with the wires connected, and we had to find the nerve that went from one leg or from the top of it to the thigh down to the tip of the leg, and we had to make it twitch. And I remember when my frog's leg twitched, I was really excited about that. I only managed to do it once, and then I couldn't do it a second time. But anyway, it proved the point. Now, my science teacher and I got on really well. My maths teacher and I, unfortunately, we had this agreement that we didn't like each other. But my science teacher was also my physics teacher. He was really fantastic. And unfortunately, in those days, it's back in England in the 1950s, there wasn't very much money around, and there's no way that I could go to university unless my parents had a lot of money. My dad wasn't a doctor or a physicist, so there was no way that I could go to uni. So the possibility of me getting involved in human physiology was not an option. So I actually got involved in the electronics area and the field of radio and television. Anyway, back to history. Then along came Nikola Tesla. Now, he was a Serbian-American engineer and physicist, and he invented the first alternating current AC motor, and he developed AC generation and transmission technology. It was actually at the end of the 19th century that he also invented the first pulsed electromagnetic field device. We now call them PEMF devices. Now later, NASA took this up, and they enabled the first PEMF device to be registered with the FDA in the United States. So over the years there have been many developments in the field of electronics, and our knowledge of the human body, that this increase in knowledge has allowed us to produce more sophisticated and efficient PEMF medical devices. Certainly as far as the size is concerned, we've reduced the need for masses of coils. And the other thing we've discovered is it's not power that's necessary, because the resting state of the human the cell membrane is only around a minus 70 millivolts, and it doesn't take a great deal to open up the transporter channels in the cell membrane for the exchange of sodium, potassium, calcium ions, which is really important for cellular regeneration. Basically, that's what the Oscar Pulse does. It modulates cell membrane, opening important transporter channels for the increase of good stuff and bad stuff out, if you like. That's an easy way of putting it without going into too much technical bioelectronic detail. So where are we now? I mean, COVID-19 has changed the face of many businesses around the world. It's certainly changed the way we work. And apart from our operation in the USA, we have agents now in the UK, Germany, India, Korea, Singapore, and of course here in Australia. Over the last 18 months, I would have had to travel to the USA, India, and the UK at least. But now we communicate with our computers using Zoom. Certainly cuts costs, but talking on Zoom, not really the same as physical interaction. Be interesting to see what eventuates over the next few years. An amazing number of things have happened over the last 2 years with what's happened with COVID and what we've had to do to continue with our business. Unfortunately, many businesses have had to close. Many businesses have had to change, like us. We've had to change our modus operandi. In the meantime, though, customer support is foremost in our minds, and some of you have actually become almost like family. So, thank you for watching. I hope this has been of interest to you. How do we come about the naming the Oscar, Shelley?
I think I've probably told this story before, but a lady found, we were having a weekend away in the Swan Valley in Perth, and a lady had bought an Oscar, or a husband had bought an E-cell, the husband had bought it for her, and she was up in Queensland, and she rang early on the Sunday morning, not realising we were in Perth, and we had a long chat about it because I was explaining how it all worked for her, she then made some sort of, she said, oh, just a moment, and she was saying, Oscar, you know, do this. And she came back and she said, I run a wild rescue sanctuary in Queensland on the edge of the one of the rainforests there. And she said, I've got this little koala that we raised from the mother's pouch because the mother died in a fire. And she said, I've raised it by hand, and it's like no other little koala that I've ever raised. It is just the cutest, most intelligent little animal. And in fact, she said, it will be released, but she said it's not ready yet. But she said it's got its own bedroom. And but she said when it wakes up in the morning, comes in on my bed and, you know, sleeps with her sometimes. And I'm like thinking, I said, well, what do you do, you know, with its droppings? I'm thinking like a rabbit. And she said, that's when I learned that. She said koalas don't pass urine or feces very, very often. Their body absorbs it all. I said, goodness me, I had no idea. Anyway, so I said, and she said, I'll be vacuuming and it'll jump onto my elbow, and I'll be vacuuming and the Oscar will be hanging, oh no, she didn't say Oscar, and it will be hanging onto my elbow. She said, then I'll be walking along and it'll jump and hang onto my knee. And I said, what's its name? Because I had this picture in my mind all of a sudden, because we've been looking for a name. We could not come across a name for our product. And I said, so what's its name? And she said, Oscar. And I just had this light bulb moment. That's what we were going to call our little device. So afterwards, and I had in view the Oscar with a K for koala. And that's how it came about. So don't go and read the story of Oscar on the website because they haven't got it quite right. And I keep saying, please change it. You haven't got the story quite right in America.
Steve was adamant about the fact that the name had to be associated.
Okay. I think I apologise because Shirley just came back and said, you didn't have any sound on. I've got an array of little buttons down here on the screen and I clicked the wrong one, so I'm hoping you can hear me now. On my gadgetry here, I have an iPad and an iPhone, and one's tuned into YouTube, and the other one is in that's connected to Facebook, and it's coming through 15 seconds later, so it's a bit disconcerting. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed tonight. That's all I'm going to broadcast tonight, because as I said, Shirley was going to be a part of our broadcast this evening. So you're missing Gracie, our wonderful ragdoll cat, apart from Shirley. So I hope you all have a fantastic week. Those of you in the eastern states are going to cop our miserable weather. It's freezing cold, wet, blowing, and not nice at all. And I know that eventually you guys are going to get it over there, because we're pushing it your way. So that's it from me tonight. I apologise for a little bit of waffle, but as I said, I'm doing it all tonight. So hopefully we'll put it all together again next, Tuesday, second Tuesday of the month. And yes, I think doing it to YouTube and Facebook is easier than I anticipated. So we'll do it again. And maybe next time we'll put another couple of videos together, because I think with the videos, it enables us to put extra information in the video itself. So, and we can give a lot more thought to doing it just live every time. So anyway, it's nearly time for The Voice for those of us in Western Australia. So it's good night from me, and I think Shirley's saying good night on Facebook. Good night, everybody.